Friday evening, which is really unusual for TiE, but we had this great opportunity to present to you some really influential people who are doing some wonderful work for entrepreneurs, and I'd let them explain what their program is all about. We've had the pleasure of having them here for about 4 days now in very intensive discussions, presentations, board meetings that they've scheduled here specifically in Silicon Valley and at TiE because they feel that this is really certainly the hub and the center of innovation. So we're delighted at TiE Silicon Valley to be supporting them and partnering with them. We'll speak more to that as they talk about their mission and objectives. I'm Raj Desai, I'm the Executive Director here at TiE. For those of you who received many emails in my name, apologies, but this is TiECon coming up in 2 weeks, and hope all of you have signed up. I have raise of hands, how many are signed up for TiECon? That's terrific. Still some more to join. Don't delay because we'll soon be sold out. We have a terrific program, and hope to see you all there. So anyway, with that, again, thank you for coming for a Friday evening. And we are definitely going to set aside a lot of time for Q&A so that questions that you may have of this great group of folks that are here representing a very great initiative helping entrepreneurs can answer and explain. First, I'd like to bring Venkatesh Shukla, our president, TiE Silicon Valley, to say a few words about TiE and its mission and where it's going. And after that, we'll have the board come to the front and explain about their program. Thanks, Venkatesh.
Thanks, Raj. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is the kind of attendance that makes an event successful, and we are very, very pleased to welcome luminaries from India and from the United States which are doing such an innovative program. TiE, going forward, is going to focus more and more on programs that benefit the entrepreneur. And this is the kind of thing that fits squarely into what the focus of TiE is going to be going forward. We have, you have seen, you've got a lot of emails from TiE. One of the emails that I had sent was about all the programs that we're doing focusing on entrepreneurs, and I'm just really, really excited at the turnout for this opportunity. It's a very exciting program these guys have, and I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of TiE's, for the benefit of the guests who may not know as much as here about TiE as the rest of us here do, just a quick recap. This is the 21st year of operation of TiE, and it was started by a bunch of entrepreneurs who succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. And it was their idea of giving back to the society is to create an entity that promotes wealth creation through entrepreneurship. And it's that combination of high accomplishment with a commitment to giving back that permeates the culture of this organization, and that culture has really spawned a lot of very, very exciting organizations in Silicon Valley. The charter members who got together and started TiE, some of them went off and started another very good organization called America India Foundation, which is doing a lot of good work in supporting projects in India. Another bunch of charter members, went off and created this wonderful organization called India Community Center. And actually, one of the founders of that is right here, Talat. Talat, will you please stand up? So she started India Community Center. Some other people spawned off and started this organization called Matri, which is for support of women who are victims of domestic violence. That organization has done a phenomenal job. And yet another organization that got spawned off from this giving culture here of TiE was an organization called Foundation for Excellence, and that's the one closest to my heart. I ran it for 17 years, and we support really outstanding students in India who are talented enough to secure admission into a good engineering college or a medical college, but are too poor to afford it, and we give them scholarships. We have funded about 12,000 students so far, and some of them are so good, so talented, and some of them want to come to this country. They're working at companies like Google, Facebook, Intel, Cisco, all over the place. So one of them is currently doing PhD at Stanford. Another one just finished PhD at CMU. So it's really that quality of students in India that we fund. So TiE has had a huge influence on the this influences here of giving back and supporting the next generation. TiE itself could not have been born in any place other than Silicon Valley. It was no accident that TiE was born in Silicon Valley. There's a story, I'm fond of telling that story ever since I read that. There's a story of a young man called Steve Jobs, at the age of 22, having the temerity to call the CEO of the biggest semiconductor company at that time, Intel, calling him, picking up the phone and just calling his office and asking for a meeting because he's starting a computer company and he wants to get his perspective. This would be unthinkable in any other part of the world. But what would be even more unthinkable in any other part of the world was taken for granted in Silicon Valley is that Andy Grove, the CEO of Intel, actually gave him time and spent an hour with him, giving him his feedback on his ideas that Steve Jobs had. So this culture of the paying forward, giving back kind of a thing is so deeply rooted in Silicon Valley. And that's why there have been a lot of successful entrepreneurs all over the world, that only the entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley had this thought of creating this entity called TiE, which has had such a profound influence, not just in Silicon Valley, but throughout the world. So we have in 17 countries, 60 chapters. I was not involved in the early stages, but there are some here who were involved at a very, very early stage, and I would like to acknowledge some of those people. So Talat is of course one, and Kamil, would you please stand up, Kamil? Kamil is also one of the leaders. And so is my predecessor, who happens to be here, Vish Mishra. I don't know if I'm missing anybody else. Oh, Satya. Is Satya here? Yeah. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Also one of the... We don't call these people old charter members, we call them TiE classics. So with this, I think I'll invite, sorry? Naren. Where is Naren? Oh, there's Naren, of course. New and improved Naren. Yeah. And by the way, if someone wants to know how to get rid of diabetes, blood pressure, and lose 100 pounds, please talk to Naren. Nilesh? Please, it's all yours. Nilesh is in the US Embassy in India, and he's in charge of commerce and all these kind of relationships. He used to be a partner at KPMG here, and then decided to join public service, decided to join government, and now he is a US government representative in Delhi. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for coming out tonight in the evening. In many ways, I feel like I'm at home because I know so many of you here, and it's really a pleasure for me to kind of see so many people again. But before we get started, what I wanted to do is bring our group up here. There, Arvinda, please. HK, where is Care? Please. Rajiv. There you are, Rajiv. What what I thought we would do today is have each one of us kind of give a very brief presentation, about 5 minutes each. Somebody in the audience, please keep us honest on that. We'll then have a Q&A session related to any of the questions you may have for any of the panelists here. So without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Blair Hall. Blair is our co-chair for the U.S.-India Science and Technology Endowment Board with our U.S. Embassy in New Delhi until recently. Please.
Thank you. First, I'd like to very much thank Raj and Vink and all the members of the team here at TiE Silicon Valley. You've been exemplary hosts for us for our meetings the last few days. You've been tremendous partners for us, and we're very, very grateful indeed for the help and assistance and moral support you've been giving us. Thank you very much. I want to tell you a little bit about the U.S.-India Science and Technology Endowment. But I'm going to start from the back end because I want to get to, I think, what the most important point is. Yes, we have money. Yes, we're looking for good entrepreneurial projects to fund. And later we will tell you how to do this. But let me tell you a little bit about the fund, what it's for, and how we're operating. The endowment fund was created in 2009 by the U.S. and Indian governments. On the U.S. side, it's created with about $15 million left from old PL 480 money, that's food assistance money from many years ago, that we decided would be best used in this way. Those funds are matched by the Indian government to produce in the neighborhood, of course it depends on exchange rate and so forth, of about $2.5 to $3 million a year that we use to promote commercial adoption of innovative technologies. The key to this is we're looking for technologies that have social impact. We're looking for technologies that tie the U.S. and India together. We're looking for things that will produce benefits for shareholders and benefits for the societies, the citizens of both countries and the rest of the world. And so I think with that kind of description of our mandate, you can see why we find TiE such an attractive alliance partner. And I think that we really will be looking at ways in the coming days, weeks, months, years to see how we can leverage our mutual interests to find ways to benefit entrepreneurs, to take innovative ideas and scale them up. And we'll be happy to tell you a little bit about some of the kind of projects that we've been looking at. And that's what we've been doing here the last 2 days. We've had our last round of funding, which was the third round that we've done since we've started. We had nearly 400 proposals. We narrowed it down through a peer review process with both technical and financial experts looking at these. And we came down to about 20 finalists, of which we can't announce it yet. We won't be announcing this round until probably in mid-June, because we still have due diligence to do and that sort of thing. But we expect to award perhaps 6 or 7 awards from this round, the most we've ever done at any one time. And these awards are in the nature of about $500,000 US, about 500,000, a little bit less now that the exchange rate, but in that neighborhood. And what we're trying to do is find companies that have IP, maybe have a prototype, maybe have a good idea, but the business plan is there, but it hasn't been affected yet. So what we want to do is help these companies with good ideas to get ready for financing. We see ourselves as finding a real niche in the ecosystem for early startup, for identifying talent, for identifying teams with talent, for identifying teams with technically good ideas, with partnerships between India and the United States to produce results of social benefit. That we've funded things in medical devices, in agriculture, in IT for financial inclusion, any of these sort of things, water sanitation, water remediation, these kind of things that will have benefits in India, of course. We are very sensitive to things that have benefits to the bottom of the pyramid, but we also are sensitive to things that work in the United States. Because if a device that, say for telemedicine, works in Madhya Pradesh, it could work just as easily in North Dakota, where things are far away and doctors are scarce. So we want to take advantages of the kind of innovation, the kind of knowledge leadership that we see here in Silicon Valley and increasingly in India. And we want to take care of the engineering, the cost-saving factors. We want to take advantage of all of the benefits that we see in the broader partnership between the U.S. and India. It's, as I said, it's a very young organization. We were chartered in 2009. We really didn't get off the ground until about 2 years ago. We're just completing our third round of funding, and we're trying to identify what our place in this world is. I think that I am very privileged to be on this board because, well, I'm a bureaucrat. I'm a 30-year foreign service officer who didn't previously have a lot of background in this. But when I can call on members with the experience, with the knowledge, and with the passion and commitment to this project that we have on the board, on both the U.S. and the Indian side, I can't tell you how exciting that is. And I'd like just very briefly for my fellow members to please, many of them here, but if you just stand up for just a minute so we can see. I'm not going to introduce everyone, but the board is an interesting hybrid. It's a joint U.S.-India board. There are 9 members on the U.S. side, 9 members on the Indian side. On each side, 5 are from government, 4 are from the private sector. It's a genuinely mixed board. And what we've taken from the very beginning, the view that this is not a U.S. board looking for U.S. interests, and an Indian board looking for Indian interests. We have worked as one board with one mission, and that mission is to fund socially impactful projects with good technology, good teams that bring the two countries together. It's really exciting, and as I have been here in TiE and seeing people walk in and out and talking, it's clear to me that this is the place for us to hold this meeting, that this is the place for us to be, because that energy that is captured here in your story about Steve Jobs calling up well, I can't call Andy Grove, but I can call Talat Hassan. This is the place to be. We're very excited here. I think I want to stop now and let my other colleagues and panelists give a few minutes, but we'll be happy to answer any specific questions. We haven't designed the 4th round yet. That will be probably later this year, mid-year. We'll put out the call, and we'll make sure that that's widely advertised through our means and through TiE and other ways. And we'll welcome you or people you know who have innovative projects to make that application. So I would like to introduce Dr. Arabinda Mitra, who's my co-chair of the board, to say a few words about overall U.S.-India science, technology, and innovation relationship. Thank you, Blair. It's my privilege and pleasure to be here at TiE, and let me echo the sentiments of Blair that we really find that there is a lot of synergy in what you do and what we do, and together we can really bring a lot of value addition. What I would just briefly talk about is the new science and technology and innovation policy which India has recently announced. And just to give you a little bit of a background, as you would all recall, in the last century India won two freedoms, the political freedom in 47 and the economic freedom in 93. And the consequence of both these freedoms have been quite dramatic in this century, though it took almost 60 years. The last 10 years, India had been growing at a pace between 9 to 10%. The science and technology funding in India over the last decade has been growing on an annual average of 20 to 22%. I think no other country other than China had such a rapid growth in the S&T funding in the last 7 to 8 years. And what really did that mean? It meant quite a bit in terms of real output, what we saw in the number of scientific publications that have been generated. What India used to be 13th in the rank of nations in terms of overall scientific and technological output, measured by publications, which has now become 9th. And if at this rate we grow in another 5 years' time, which is the end of the 12th five-year plan ending 2017, India would be the 5th or 6th nation in the world in terms of total scientific output that it would generate. The interesting thing that has taken place is our output in engineering sciences and medical sciences, which are more applied in nature, has seen a quantum jump compared to the basic research which India was known for in the past. Now, what does that mean? That definitely means that the government does realize that science and technology is an important factor to the economic growth of the country. And that led to the announcement of the new policy, the Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, which was announced by the Prime Minister of India on the 3rd of January 2013, while he was inaugurating the 100th Science Congress in Kolkata. And what does this policy talk about? For the first time, the policy adds the word innovation. Way back in early 50s, when Pandit Nehru first gave the science policy, which is a 2-page document which is still not changed, it was written by himself. And sometimes in 70s, we added the word technology when we were passing through the phase of technology denial, and now in this 21st century, we have added the word innovation. And what does that really signify? What it really talks about is how really science can be relevant to the society, how there could be a synergy between science, technology, and society, how we could use science for solving the problems of the people. So for the first time, we are talking of a shift from what I call discovery science to solution science, from an input-driven science to an output-driven science. The relationship between science and economics. How can knowledge generate wealth? So this is actually a paradigm shift, in the whole mindset of how science was perceived, how technology was perceived, and this is now therefore opened an altogether new paradigm in what India is going to pursue in the near future. So when I talk of the science, technology and innovation policy, I am talking of using this science, technology, innovation and entrepreneurship for creating solutions for the needs of the bottom of the pyramid. So the paradigm of the innovation policy that we have put in is very different from what we see in the West. It is not the process of innovation that we are looking at the purpose of the innovation. And that is very, very important. How can we really make affordable innovation that can permeate to a large market? And to do that, of course, the government has to have certain programs in place. The policy is an aspiration, and we need some programs really to make it effectively happen. For the first time, therefore, in our S&T 5-year planning, we have laid a very strong emphasis on public-private partnership. Unlike the advanced world, more than 80% of R&D funding in the government was coming from the federal support, less than 20% from the private sector, which is the other way around in any of the advanced countries. So there is now a very strong effort to see that the investment from the private sector in R&D also grows up. And what used to be something like 22% funding by the private sector in R&D has now moved to 31%, a very substantial growth in terms of the contribution of the private sector in R&D. Because the STI policy very clearly says that we need to bring in the society and the private sector as main stakeholders, so that we can really create a seamless connectivity between the national labs, between the academia and the industry, so that what we do in terms of our research really goes to the market space at a very short period of time. So we are therefore putting in a lot of public-private partnership programs, and some of the programs that we would do is really supporting projects up to almost 50% funding, with 50% contribution coming from the government in areas such as health, in areas such as energy, in areas such as food security, besides creating a large number of technology platforms where we are looking into not only pan-India, but an international collaboration. A very important aspect of our new policy is how we can leverage what I say collaborative advantage by working across nations. And to that, I would say, as someone who is responsible for international collaborations of the Department of Science and Technology with 41 countries, we have active collaborations happening, and US is perhaps one of the most vibrant S&T collaborations that we have. This relationship, what used to be about $5 or $6 million some 7 or 8 years ago, has now moved to an $150 million relationship. And this relationship is all based on co-funding and parity. So this relationship is really looking at creating a win-win situation, and the US-India Endowment Fund, which Blair talked about, is one of those such amongst the numerous activities that we do between the two countries to support innovation and entrepreneurship. A very new innovative idea or a concept that we have done in order to engage internationally in R&D collaborations in innovation is the creation of a body called GITA. It is not the Holy Bible or the Holy Book GITA that you are aware of. It is the Global Innovation Technology Alliance. And it is a Section 25 not-for-profit company which has been established between the Department of Science and Technology and the Confederation of Indian Industry. And Anjan Das, who is the Executive Director of CII and is also a board member of the endowment, has been an active proponent of this. And through this GITA, for the first time, the government is now able to fund private sector in engaging in international R&D cooperation that would lead into innovation and entrepreneurship. And through the platform of GITA, we have already engaged with 5 countries, and the list is going on, increasing every other day. We started with Israel, Canada, of course, US, France, and now we are adding UK, we are adding Finland, we are adding Spain as international collaborative partners that would promote interactions between SMEs and the knowledge-based companies that would really help in forging this relationship further and providing goods that is not only going to benefit the 2 partnering countries, but also targeting the other third countries of the developing world. So I think this is a tremendous potential here. There is, as I told you, a tremendous shift in the government's thinking in terms of working more closely with the private sector, working more closely with entrepreneurs. And I think some of the programs that we are going to implement on a national level would be touched upon by my colleague, Mr. Harkesh Mittal, who's going to follow me. But I think looking at the US-India perspective, I've been involved in it for the last 10 years very closely. It's dear to my heart. Even when I talk of 41 countries, the first country which comes to my mind is US when I talk of international collaboration. I strongly feel that through this particular Indo-US Endowment Fund and the involvement of TiE here, we can really bring the Silicon Valley and the Indus Valley together. And it's time that we do it in a very effective way so that the hands-on and minds-on can come together and really create good, which is not only beneficial to the bilateral relationship, but creates a larger global good, which 2 great democracies can really provide solutions with, for hunger, for energy, for other needs, especially targeting other developing countries, including Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this platform. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I really look forward to a more closer interaction with TiE and all of you through this beautiful mechanism that we have created. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank TiE for making these wonderful arrangements, both in physical and in spiritual nature. Everybody wants to have Silicon Valley. Everybody wants to have a Silicon Valley, and all the nations want it. The closest was Chile. Chile is actually set up a Silicon Valley. So we are getting there. I was wondering what I will talk to a very knowledgeable group on innovation and entrepreneurship. What will I talk about? Well, I wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. With a surname like Mittal, what else I could have thought of? But one of my professors, when I was studying at IMA, he sent me to a session like this, where a lot of entrepreneurs had gathered, and there was a speaker from the Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India. I was very impressed with that speaker. I said, if I have knowledge like this fellow about entrepreneurship, I'll be very successful. Of course, I must tell you that I had my business plan ready, my industrial shed was allocated. I was to become an entrepreneur. So after listening to this fellow, I was very impressed. And I thought maybe I'll work with this institute for 2 years, 3 years, gain all the knowledge about entrepreneurship, and then become an entrepreneur. Well, friends, that was the end of my entrepreneurship. So if there's anybody who gets impressed on talk about entrepreneurship, I think it's not about talking, it's about doing. That you know it better than I do. Well, working on innovation and entrepreneurship is very exciting. When we succeed, we talk about this in conference rooms like this, that this fellow made it big. But in India, if you don't succeed, we meet in courtrooms. We meet in courtrooms, and there are long legal battles which take place, which fortunately don't take place here in Silicon Valley. Not most of them. Here, even the qualification that I have failed in 2 startups is an advantage. It actually is. So there is a large difference in the ecosystem. There is a substantial difference in the ecosystem. And some of these learnings we want to replicate. Some of the knowledge which you have created, we want to use that knowledge. Let me take a commercial break for 2 minutes. I don't know how many of you know that India is one of the few countries in the world which has had a positive growth for the last 31 years. Last 31 years, India has never had negative growth. Most of the nations across the world have had negative growth in this long period. Yes, there are challenges. I'll touch upon those challenges also. The other thing is, even in the year 1991, when it was the worst year for our economy, India still grew by 1%. We were a $1 trillion economy 10 years back, and we were growing at the rate of about 9 to 10%. Today, we are a $2 trillion economy, and we are growing at a rate of about 5 to 6%. I think I don't need to explain the mathematics. Everyone here is wise enough to understand the basic mathematics. What I'm trying to hint at is that there are possibilities even today in India. Yes, there are challenges of distributed growth, uneven growth. Those are challenges which we have to face. There are issues about large numbers where the quality has to be inculcated. Yes, there are issues. Those are some of the challenges. Now, we can do that, but what can we do together? Let's focus on that, what we can do together. Today, when I run a program called Power of Ideas with one of our leading business dailies, Economic Times, which is, the call is open for 1 month. I get 15,000 innovations in just 1 month. 15,000 people file in their innovations. And not all of them are good innovations. When we shortlist, about 8 to 9,000 of them are reasonable ideas. We don't stop there. Go down further. Come to about 1,000 ideas, which are investable. They're just investable. Some of you may like it, some of you may not like it. We don't even stop there. Filter it down to about 250 ideas. Where you can close your eyes and invest in those funds. Although I will not recommend you to close your eyes and invest in those funds, those individuals. But yes, there are brilliant ideas. When we talk about the next big idea which we do in partnership with Intel, similar numbers come. Not as large, but they do come. Some of the concerns which we have in India. The early stage startup money, 94% of this comes from outside India. 94% of the money for the startups, the early stage startups, comes from outside India. So what does that mean? That a lot of knowledge, which is innovations which are getting generated, are getting, the benefits are going out. There's a serious lack of good quality mentors. These are areas where we can work together. Mentoring, early stage investing, there are some of these areas where we can work together. Well, last commercial break, what do I do in India? I currently head 2 boards in India. One is the National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development Board, where we promote incubators, where we promote startups, very, very early stage when they have ideas, they come to our incubators, where they get seed funding, where they get some support, and this is one aspect of my job. The second board which I head currently is the Technology Development Board, where we provide 50% finance, 50% of the project cost to the industry, mainly in form of low cost debt. We have all the other instruments, equity as well as grant. So this is what I do. And once again, I would like to thank you all for coming in large numbers. Thank you very much.
Well, after 2 speakers, both were co-chair of the board and one member, of which I am the executive secretary. And then again, of course, another member of our board, Karen, will be talking. So I am slightly different here. I would be rather talking about the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. Our job has been to build bridges between scientific communities of India and US, between industry and scientists, between again academia from India and US, students and their mentors. So we have been involved in various activities. And our journey also started with PL 480 funds. That time President Clinton was visiting India in March 2000. So then the ambassador, US ambassador, he was very kind enough. He said there is some fund lying with us, and then endowment was set up that time. That endowment money, whatever interest is earned on that is given to us, and the equal amount comes from the government of India. So that way we are funded by both the governments. But then government linkage slightly ends here because we have been set up as a non-government organization in India. So while we are getting funds from India, we are also governed by many, in fact it's a board which again have members from Indian government as well as US government. But we have given a lot of flexibility in operation. And that is where our USP lies, that we can take up many activities which have been in principle which have been agreed by our board. But the way we implement it is almost very much free of various rules and regulations which normally comes with the government grants. So over the years, actually, we have developed a very, very wide type of programmatic portfolio. We have actually, as I was mentioned, that we have to build bridges. So we started with networking activities like workshops, training programs. And over the years, actually, we have supported more than 300 workshops. We are actually, directly we have supported linkages between 12,000 Indian and US scientists and technologists and medical professionals. And indirectly, if you say, then figures comes to about 10 times mostly. Then we have also actually built up several portfolio in partnership with various ministries, various private organizations, where we are providing fellowships for Indian and US students. And today actually we are supporting again the exchange visits of about 200 UG students, master students and PhD students as well as postdocs. Every year actually we are supporting so many people. Then naturally actually as Arvind Mitra was telling that as India was moving actually from science to the technology and innovation, so that was also reflected in our activities actually. So from science and technology actually we have also added innovation promotion in our portfolio. And we are running, for example, a program, it's called actually India Innovation Growth Program, in partnership with Department of Science and Technology and Lockheed Martin program, where every year 50 innovators from India, they are actually trained. And Stanford University is the academia partner, and IC Square Institute of Austin. They are actually academia partner, they train those 50 innovators and how to pitch their ideas, actually how to make business plans and how to really sell those ideas. And latest activity has been the US India Science and Technology Endowment Fund, which we have been really, I'll say we are very much honored that we have been interested with this activity again. Then again, the type of activities which we have been doing, as I was mentioning, that it ranges actually from students to the senior scientists, fellows, and several innovators and entrepreneurs also actually now have been included in that list. So, what actually I am expecting from here, actually, of course, you are all maybe a different type of people, I'll say, but again, actually, we look forward to have actually a partnership with you, with alliances actually we would like to form with you, where we would like to have actually some of you as mentors in our activity, some of you as the applicants in our activity. You can submit various proposals to us, which we can implement. And with this, actually, I would like to end here, but I will make you request actually to visit our website actually of the US-India S&T Endowment Fund as well as the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum to know the wide aspect of our activities. Thank you very much.
It's past my Washington, D.C. bedtime, so I'll try to be quick. What's important about the year 2050? Is it the kind of televisions we'll have, which may not exist? What is it? I'm almost sure that all of you know that the year 2050 is predicted to be about the peak population of the world. If we listen to Malthus, that English preacher, he would say, some of you are going to be starving to death by 2050. There's no way the world's food supply can keep up with the need, with the human population. We know that the human population continues to grow. It will peak, as I said, in 2050 or thereabouts. We know that the amount of land that's available for the growth of food will not increase. We are on the rocket ship Earth, and there is no more land. There is no more air. Water is becoming a scarce community. Those of you who live here in California hear more about that than those of us on the East Coast do. So what is the role of agricultural research? I come from the USDA, and our job is to prove Malthus wrong. Our job is to encourage people to develop new technologies and to come to you and bring those technologies to the public, have innovations. We've seen a lot of that in agriculture, but we haven't had nearly enough. If you think about the food that you had today, a lot of it still depends on stoop labor. A lot of it depends on having people that work very hard for very little pay. So one of the things that my boss, Tom Vilsack, talks about, Secretary of Agriculture, is how do we bring the innovation that we make in science and technology to
to the farm? How do we bring it to rural areas? How do we change in America? How do we change in India to make sure that in the year 2050 there aren't starving children, that there is a well-fed populace? I worry perhaps most about this when I go to China and they tell me that they have 9.8% of the world's arable land and they have 22% of the world's population. I think we all should worry. So I think this is one of the reasons I'm so interested in this thing that we're about today, this joint Indo-U.S. Endowment Board who's looking for innovation. I want part of that innovation to be in agriculture. I want it to change lives of people that depend on food and don't think it comes from Kroger's or whatever store you shop at here instead of coming from where it does, out there on the vines and in the fields. And I'm okay with that, but we do need to innovate in agriculture. We do need to take a lot of the technologies we have, and we've done great things so far. They're not uniformly scattered throughout the world. The average dairy cow in the United States in the year 1947 produced 4,000 pounds of milk. Today, the average dairy cow produces over 30,000 pounds of milk. Most of that is technology, it's science, it's genetics, it's feeding. But there's a long way to go to feed the world. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this. Some of the projects that we've heard about have applied directly to agriculture and they will help people. But one of the things that we all need to think about is where does our food come from? How are we going to get it? And what kinds of things do we need to do in terms of innovation? How do we promote innovation so that people live better, and especially those that provide us our food? And how do we make this a better world? And I think agriculture is one of those ways. We all need to be about proving that Malthus was wrong. So thank you.
Okay, I'm the last speaker of the day. I know you're all waiting for Q&A, so I'm going to make this very, very brief. So after a stint at KPMG, after being a CFO of a software company, and then a stint at a private equity firm, I landed this gig to be a science and technology officer at the U.S. Embassy. And I got to tell you, what a fun job that is. I mean, it's just amazing. The kind of relationship that we have between the two governments and the number of initiatives are just totally amazing. I'm just going to mention maybe 2 or 3 of those. One that I was very much involved in is the Open Government Platform, which we work with the National Innovations Council, working with Sam Petroda, who is the Prime Minister's advisor on science, technology, and information infrastructure. And this government platform is based on open software, and it was amazing. You had a team out of Washington, D.C., the developer team, along with an Indian team working together over Skype, developing the code. And it was just an amazing experience, how late they work, how hard they work. And now it's rolled out in both countries. U.S. actually had an old platform that they upgraded to an open architecture as well. So the number of data sets that are now available from the government, ministries, and agencies for use by private industries is just totally amazing. Within the 6-month time period, India uploaded over about 75 different data sets. And you have in the US close to around 4,000 right now. But it is an amazing path of journey, and what kind of data is available now that can be used by any number of citizens. The other area is women in science, and this is a big thing for us, and we work with our counterparts and encourage women in science initiatives, and so we run a number of programs on that. Actually, next month we have a delegation coming out of US, all the senior executives from Fortune 50 companies, IBM and HP and so forth. They are visiting India, and we have a number of programs related to that. So you talk about energy. You can't talk about any sector, really, of any part of the economy where you don't talk about technology and innovation. And we have, you can think about energy. We have collaborations related to that, the clean energy, both on the research side as well as development side. Talk about oceanography. We have collaborations on that. Healthcare, I mean, various agencies out of the U.S. work with the Indian counter agencies, and working at the NIH is very active, CDC is very active, and so a number of initiatives related to that. Last year they had signed an MOU related to research in diabetes. And again, it's been rumored that India could be the next capital of diabetes in the world. So we have a number of initiatives related to that as well. So it's a robust relationship, and any number of initiatives are ongoing at the same time. So I look forward to my tour in India until until the next year and then be back. So anyway, thank you very much. So we all look forward to your questions and answers.
Let me ask the first question. If the entrepreneurs are interested in this, in applying for this grant, what is the process, what's the timeline, and how would they find out about it?
That's a good question. We have a website, and we can give you that. It's Indo-U.S. It's a bunch of initials, so we'll make sure it's available, and we'd like you to publicize it to your members. So we have a website. In June, we're going to roll out an upgraded website that will have even more information. It has instructions. It has all the technical details. We do about 2 calls a year. It's an open call, maybe about every 8 months for the call. So then, since we're just finishing this round, we'll open the next call in June. So we have a couple of months to do that. Call's open for about 30 days, and then we have the evaluation process through 3-4 stages. What we do is seek proposals. Typically, the way we do it now is we ask for a 1-page executive summary. We'll have several hundred of those. For the semifinalists, for the next stage, we ask for a detailed business plan with technology and financials included. And then for the final stage, what we've been doing here the last couple of days, we ask the teams to come and present to us. And out of that, we choose the final number. The areas that we have put for proposals, the last 3 rounds have been called empowering citizens is one category. That is technologies that help better the lives of ordinary citizens. This could be things like financial inclusion using technology or communications technology or other transportation energy technologies to help empower citizens. The other one is healthy individual. We haven't funded or accepted applications on the pharma side. The regulatory hurdles are too big. It's too much money. It's not really the space we want to be operating in. But we have been looking at medical devices. Let's see, what other kind of things have we? Diagnostic tools, that sort of thing, for diabetes, for wound care, for ventilators, for neonatal care, that sort of thing. We've taken proposals for water, for remediation of water sanitation, for agriculture, for food storage solutions, innovative solar-powered cold storage platforms, things like that. The requirement is that the project should have a U.S. and an Indian side. It has to have relevance in one country or the other, and it has to be a truly joint project. That is, that if there's not a joint venture between the 2 entities, there should be at least a full understanding of who owns the IP, of how it's going to be managed, what the relationships are as this project goes forward. So we will make sure that information, and again, we may want to in the future, this is what we're going to be discussing tomorrow, so I don't know exactly what the answer is, but we may want to tailor those categories a little more and ask for more specific projects on some area or other. I think water is likely to be one that we will look at, since it's such an important area in both countries, but all of that will be explained.
Are you happy with disseminate that information once you guys have it?
We'll be certain to share it with you, and we would very much appreciate you sharing it widely.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Ganesh. First of all, thank you for your time. Each one of you speaking about a sustainable living at every end, right from the bottom of the pyramid to people who can afford, and they get something, a value product. It absolutely resonates with me. I believe in that. And sir, Kate, the question is for you. I think you come from a USDA background. Every word that you talked, I believe in it for the last 12 months. I did a lot of research and I believe in whatever you talked about agriculture. Could you throw some perspective and light on the growth in the organic sector and so much focus on the organic sector and just want to know your perspective?
Yeah, I'd be more than pleased to, and that's a form of innovation too, is that somebody has found a market that's very strong, that promoted the notion of organics, and frankly, our Deputy Secretary, Kathleen Merrigan, who's just getting ready to leave USDA, has been the strongest proponent, though the Secretary claims he is, of organic production. It has grown tremendously over the last 15 years, actually, since I've been in science. The organic folks have been very strong proponents of innovation. They restrict themselves, as you know, to not using many of the chemicals, pesticides, herbicides that we do. So they come to us, they ask for things, and we provide some of these things. We discovered a new bacterium here recently that our people have patented that will be used by organic folks as a pest control treatment. So yes, it's a very strongly growing industry. I can't give you the exact numbers, the dollar numbers, but they really are represented well in the department. We do try to service them. We do provide research for them, and they're very open to innovation. And they have very well specified sort of needs for innovation because it has to fit under the organic label. So it's a very interesting set of people to work with.
Thank you, sir.
So Blair, two questions and one comment. So I don't know whether you recall, I had met you in Delhi and went to Jaipur with the Nish Chopra team, Obama. So I'm very, very positive to see that number of things that we talked at that time are coming to fruition. So that's a very positive thing, including open government, including collaboration and so on. The second thing to Ganesh, organics is happening everywhere. I mean, you'll be pleased. Just 3 months ago in Jaipur, I found two absolutely bright agriculture scientists, highly educated. They have invented, sitting in Jaipur, rooftop organic farming. So they want to see a desert state, urban area, all green, and it works. In fact, I just got pictures today. They want to put green inside and green outside. Right? So the last one, the question that I want to raise is, it feels like when I hear numbers like 5 million, it feels like too small and too slow. I mean, I hope you don't take it in wrong spirit. I mean, 5 million happens in the valley in a matter of months, days. So if you illustrious people have to collaborate for 2 years, create this panel, and go through all this process, even the cost of that feels like bigger than it should be. So this is appreciation on one side, but a question as to when can we scale it up so that we can really make a big impact. So I hope you don't take it wrong, because I'm positive that it is happening.
Well, listen, thank you. It is good to see you again, and I remember well our trip out to Rajasthan. So, I would say that I think I can speak for every member of the board that we think it's too small too. Too slow, maybe. We're not too bad on the slow part, but that we can talk about. But the size, we would like to see the fund grow. But I don't know if you've looked at Washington and Delhi recently and how well both governments are doing on the decision making and on budget. So I think that I think that as a realistic prospect, we're very happy to have the money we do have. And we're very happy that Congress isn't sequestering it or doing other things to it, that they're letting us work. And so what we're focusing on, and this is very much why we look to partners in the valley like TiE, Silicon Valley. we see ourselves as part of an ecosystem. This is a little bit of money, it's seed money. By itself, it doesn't have a big impact. But if we can find collaborators, if we can find our niche, if we can work with others for the next stage, if we can pick the right projects, if we have a high rate of success, we think that we can have impact. We can have impact for developing good innovation, and we can have impact in society. And that's what we want to do. We want to do it more, and we want to do it smarter. I'd like to have more money, but I can't hold out the prospect. Although, you know, Aravinda has lots of money. DST is lots, so we can always.
The amount of waste that goes on in India, this is peanuts.
True. I wish I could say we're only India.
Something else, but it's good.
Yeah, just let me add here, you know, if you look at the perspective, just what I remarked some times ago, what used to be a $5 million relationship in 2005, I'm talking of science and technology, has moved to more than $150 million. I'm talking of the entire spectrum, and entrepreneurship innovation is just a part of it. What we are talking with through this endowment fund is again one of the various other programs that, one among the other various programs that we are doing on innovation. We have a major program with USAID and the Department of Science and Technology called the Millennium Alliance Program, which is looking at social innovation. We have a major program called the India Innovation Growth Program, that Rajiv touched about, with Lockheed Martin and DST as partner, which is looking at developing and providing, hand-holding to good ideas. We have a new innovation program. It's not exactly a new innovation program, but a big corporate consortium mode relationship on clean energy, which is a major funding by the US DOE and the Ministry of Science and Technology, which is worth about $100 million funding, looking at the aspects of solar energy, biofuels, and energy efficient building. So all this relationship has happened over a very short period of time. But as Blair said it, this is all a seeding. And we expect that as we grow, and as we are able to showcase one or two success stories, we'll have partners. And we're pretty much open to discuss about new partnerships of collaborations and alliances that further foster and enhance this relationship through the small efforts which actually the two governments have started with. So I think it's the beginning, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm an entrepreneur here who has started a company and had an exit also, and going through the transition. I'm curious about understanding how the financing itself works. What are you giving a grant? Are you giving an equity financing? Yeah. And if it is equity financing, if you succeed, would that money go back into your endowment to fund further projects? I mean, what is the nature of the financing itself?
To date, we've been doing grant financing, milestone-based grant financing, because we've thought about equity, but we're not ready to do that at this point because of the question, what do we do with it? Because then you have governments involved, and governments have trouble. So whether we think of other things that we want to do, challenge prizes or different kinds of awards or various things besides the grant. I think that's as we develop, one of the things that we're looking at as we map out our strategic plan. But up till now, it's been grant award.
Hi, my name is Praveen. My question is for you, sir. You said you're open to collaboration and seeking out new ideas. So my question is actually on the flip side of what you guys do. One of my friends, he has like 40 patents and many more in making. And he's looking to start a research and development center in Bay Area as well as in India. So do you guys, if he's willing to fund to start a research and development center, and I'm sure there are more people like that, do you guys support any such efforts?
Yeah, what we have supported so far, largely through the Indo-U.S. Science and Technology Forum, is the virtual network centers in R&D between US and India, which would involve both academia collaborations as well as the academia-industry collaborations. And what we've really not created brick and mortar joint centers, but these are network centers where groups working in the two countries on a similar area come together and leverage their complementary strengths in addressing a project in a more holistic and impactful manner in a much shorter period of time. And this model we found was a very successful model, and more than 30 virtual network centers between US and India is currently getting supported through the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. And these have not only generated high quality papers, but a large number of patents getting filed, a lot of students moving back and forth. So I think that is one of the good models, which could be, and again, through the forum, you could do a public-private partnership where the forum could pitch in, and if you have some funds, you are ready to pitch in and create a virtual network center, that possibility is there. I would confess that the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum, which I served as the founding executive director for 7 years, is perhaps one of the most unique model of collaboration that I've come across in my career of 25 years doing international S&T cooperation. It is flexible, it is nimble, it has got all the possibilities in adopting and looking at new ideas and trying to implement in a way that would address the needs of the stakeholders on both sides. So any such ideas that you have, the forum has the ability, the flexibility to look at it and collaborate with you to make that happen, as long as it creates a win-win situation on both sides.
So this question is for Mr. Arvind. So Arvind, a bunch of guys from here in the Bay Area who are passionate about innovation. So we started a company recently to drive innovation grounds up, and it was after following Mr. C.K. Prahalad, the bottom of the pyramid. So the whole objective was to drive grounds of innovation in India, and we have collaborated with DST, TiE. It's called India Tech Vision 2035, and you'll be surprised that even after 8 months of constant negotiation, we were told that there's no way he can get any funding. And we closed the deal for 1 rupee. We had to sign a contract because it's a for-profit organization that we are running. And even though our intentions were right, we wanted to drive innovation, we want to help the country, we put all our money, but only for 1 rupee. So my question is, I know you talked about innovation, but isn't it innovation being misused? I mean, the terminology? Are we seriously looking at innovation in India? And if so, how can entrepreneurs like us get the right reward for our hard work?
Can you answer?
Well, Arvinda, thank you for passing the hard question to me. My friend, what happens is investment decisions are, I would not like to comment on the individual case. But I'm sure India is looking to solve its problem through innovation. And I completely agree with you that innovation is a word which is overused. I won't say misused, but overused in any context. As far as if you look at the track record of the country, we have used innovations in big ways to solve our problems, whether it is communication, whether it is healthcare, whether it is, these are areas where, and India is serious about using innovations. And I think what you need to do is that build that, maybe at that point I would rather not comment on what TiE, what went wrong where, but we certainly are very serious on innovation. Thank you.
Hi, I've been in the Valley a long time and moved to India a couple of years ago. And really my interest is at the intersection of technology as a tool, not as an end in itself, but how can we use technology in the arts, in the culture, in design, thinking, etc., to really create, to take advantage of what India is really good at. And my question really is that one of the things I find as I work with young entrepreneurs, we touched upon this a little bit, is that failure is really a stepping stone for innovation. And there is a huge fear of failure in India. And I'm wondering, as you look at projects that you fund, etc., if you could, or if you do, look at if the person has failed before, or if they have done something before as one of the prerequisites, or so to speak. Because I think it could really be great if we can see someone who has failed, who came back and got some funding, and make really great stories out of that. Because when I work with the young people, it's the biggest thing we find is they would rather do projects for which they definitely get money as opposed to invest in a product where they might fail. So I'm really actually dedicating a lot of time in India to showcase stories of failure and how people come out of it. So I'd love to hear your views on how are you looking at it, and because I really feel that's the biggest stumbling block in India for innovation. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, that's completely true. What you have said is completely true. Fear of failure is one of the biggest blocks, and we are not doing much on that. In fact, when I was speaking, I told you that we meet in courtrooms. When the entrepreneurs fail, we consistently meet in. And this is not true only of India. I have some fair bit of experience dealing with this sector across the globe. It is only US. It's only US, and that too particularly Silicon Valley, where you tolerate failure. Or maybe, if I may say, you celebrate or take it as a qualification that I have failed in 2 startups. Maybe my third one will be successful. When I use the word maybe, in India we don't see that if you have failed once, we will brand you as a failure. That's the cultural issue. And it will take time to change. It will take time to change. And we are trying to put in some risk capital, like from technology development board. We are trying to do that. But the larger ecosystem does not provide for taking failures very kindly. So I'll give you one simple example. If the balance sheet is negative for the last 3 years, we don't look at that company. These are some of these ground level issues which exist, and I think it will take some more time to get beyond that.
I think it's largely the social context. We are generally, having been sort of a country that has been ruled by foreign powers for quite some period of time, it's like, the risk taking in a risk averse society. So we have to move from a risk averse to a risk taking society. And when I talk of innovation, as all of you would agree, it's a very non-linear process. And the governments cannot be into the business of innovation because the government never thinks in a non-linear way. So far, all the attempts that we have done to promote innovation has been on the government platform, and it's time that we move out from there and create, mechanisms which are outside the government, and that would only help in doing it. As long as things sit in the government, this is not going to happen. But creating new capitals like the risk-averse capital, is something that has been now mooted, and I think there is a group which Anjan is aware of, which has been set up with the industry and the government to look at creating these new mechanisms that would allow government to fund, but at the same time not to question if there is a failure or there is a loss there. So I think these are some of the steps that we are taking. Perhaps Anjan could add to it a little bit. Anjan, would you like to add something? You represent the industry sector, so.
Sorry, I am a little bit of impact of Bombay Sapphire. So. I want to just demystify a few things like bottom of the pyramid. I think every pyramid has a bottom, but I think redefine it. Base of economic pyramid. Let's not talk about bottom of pyramid. I think it's too much. Wherever the management school talked about it. Second is basically jugaad. I think India is somehow tagged, kind of jugaad. I don't know. This is not the Oxford kind of dictionary, but it's talked about frugal innovation. I work with INSEAD France to come out with a global innovation index of countries, 150 countries. We index it. Okay, well, we have some mathematical model to it, and it's always debatable. India comes 64 innovation index. Switzerland comes first. Sometimes Iceland comes first. So there's a problem. Now, no, it comes, right? So, okay. The question is, all these 5 years when you are doing about Global Innovation Index, India, China, and few others are on the top 5 in innovation efficiency. What does it mean? You know that, efficiency, output versus input. So, India is second this year. This year, India is second next to China. So my point is that frugal innovation, jugaad, and all that stuff is fine. You have huge inputs in terms of investments in the innovation ecosystem. India lagged. But the output you look at, I think it produces much more than what actually input can do it. So I'm not selling India, right? So my, again, point is that the new paradigm which is coming in India is basically government is looking at private sector, the business community, the entrepreneurs to be part of the whole movement of Indian innovation ecosystem. All these years, government investments used to go to the government systems. Government investment in R&D, when Arvind talked about 70% government investment, 30% private sector. 70% government investment used to go to the government systems. Now look at all your, US and other countries. The government investment, fraction of it used to go to the private sector to trigger multiple effect of the private sector investments. And we just started. We have fantastic young generation in the government system in science and technology, which is actually fueling it. So we are very glad to be part of it. I don't know, I have talked any sense of it, but I think it's a great occasion to be here. And then, well, Bombay Sapphire, thank you.
Last 4 or 5 years, my interest has been water desalination. And I see that as one of the biggest problems. And I tried to take a Southern California company which had an innovative way of packing membranes. And they wouldn't give me any prototype. They were afraid it would copy. Finally, they went this year, and it failed because they told me all bivalent chemicals will be removed, and they were not able to remove it. And they went because they needed funding. They were running out of money. And I would like to know what's happening in water desalination process, because some areas there are large coastlines which are available to produce clean water. And I see every household has an aqua guard, and they are wasting 50–60% of water because it's not clean. So that water which is coming from municipal corporation is wasted going into the sewer system. And only a little bit is left. So any comment on that?
Not just addressing the desalination issue, but overall water quality issue. What we have found through our research is different parts of the country has different types of problems. So you have certain areas where there's fluoride contamination going on. The eastern part of India has a serious problem with arsenic. In some areas you actually have uranium found in drinking water. So different areas have different types of problems. There's tremendous amount of research that is ongoing in a collaborative way as well as independently. And there are ways how the technologies get deployed in certain areas, either on a pilot basis or through collaborations in actual profit-making basis model also. So all I can say right now is that there is tremendous amount of activity, there's encouragement going on, there's money that's available both from the Ministry of Water and Sanitation that just allocated a lot of money in the water management area. Just to give you some numbers, 94% of the water goes to agriculture. Only 6% goes to domestic use. 70% of the water that is used in the rural areas comes from the groundwater. Most of the groundwater has a serious contamination issue. So you got a huge problem here. There are a multitude of technologies available that are being tested in different parts of the country, and there's a lot of emphasis being paid in coming up with these types of solutions, including infrastructure requirements related to that. Thanks.
Okay, folks, we're coming close to wrapping this thing up. We'll have 2 more questions.
So, this time I'll ask easy question. So, so my question is about the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. And how is India planning to have CSR as part of the innovation? I mean, are you encouraging corporates to, that's part one. The second thing is, what's the plan for including students, students into innovation? Basically, I think India, I was listening, recently Chidambaram was with Charlie Rose, and he was mentioning that the demographics, India is the youngest country, the average age is 29 years. So what's the plan to include the young talented students from universities who are not from the tier 1, not the IITs, not the, but so many private colleges and all. How are you planning to promote innovation with students?
First question, CSR. This budget, 2% of the CSR money which has been mandated for the corporates and the public sector, if these people invest in incubators or in these kind of arrangements, that will be counted as CSR. That's the budget announcement which has happened this year. So that's the first part. We're seriously using the CSR money for innovation. That's the first part. The second part, I have maybe 1,000 stories of how youngsters are getting involved into innovation. And I would not like to take, I'll tell you those stories offline. And it's amazing, it's amazing. And students starting right at the age of 13 to 14 years, they have been successful also. I don't know how many of you have heard the name of Suhas Gopinath. Lakshmi is here, she's just had a bunch of these people, Sanjay Vijay Kumar and all these people who have plans. They started while they were 16, 17. Today they are established entrepreneurs helping others. They have created a startup village in Kochi. It is not IIT, it is not IIM, it is the second level, third level of. So the next generation is actually working towards, and I can go on with these stories on and on, but yet we need to develop the ecosystem. I must admit that the ecosystem, what the ecosystem exists here does not exist in India. I must admit that also very frankly. But there are things which have started happening in a big way. This startup village is targeting 1,000 startups in 3 years. Just one incubator is targeting 1,000 startups in 3 years. Thank you.
Last question.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm asking last question. But one thing that I'll tell you is 2050, there is a statistics and the research work which shows that 50% of Americans will be obese, not only overweight, it will be obese. Somebody told on the podium that India possibly will be largest number of diabetic people will be in India. Today I saw a research paper which showed that 1 in every 10 American in 2030 will be diabetic. And you know how much expense it is, whether it is India or whether it is United States. And one of my illustrious example is Naren Bakshi. Those people who had seen him, he lost almost about 100 pounds. He is free from diabetes, free from sleep apnea. And I am the person who did it. But my question to you. What's the question? Question to you. I have started 3 companies. I don't feel like I can go to ask funding from you, because I think it is wasted of my time. How do you encourage a person like me that please come and some way we can do something, because I think it is a government thing, it is wasted of my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will also enjoy my Bombay Sapphire now. But let me tell you, what happens is that, government is looking for motivation from people like you. See, government can never be entrepreneurial. Let's face it. It's people like you who have the courage, who have the conviction, and who can actually take things forward. So we are actually looking, it's the other way around. We are looking at you for, in case you need, we are not forcing you to take money. In case you need, please come to us. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Great. Thanks so much all for coming, and thank you to our guests here to really enlighten us on your program. I'm sure many of us here will take advantage of this initiative. So thanks again. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Thank you.